So in my ongoing efforts, it would appear to become a younger British version of Jay Leno's Garage in terms of my car purchases, I have purchased yet another classic. I'm going to do 2 videos on this car primarily. Of course, I'll do a Beards and Cars review, which will be more of the, history of the car, the model, what it represents in the range, what it offers. And then this video is more the announcement, why did I buy it? What do I think of it? How does it compare to my other classics? For those who could recognize it from the thumbnail, because of course those headlights are very distinctive, it is another Lincoln. This is a 1960 Lincoln, so it's another 8 years older than my other one. For those who don't know, I've got a 68 Lincoln Continental Coupe, which I call Abe, in kind of a baby blue with loads of patina. And that one's got the 462 MEL engine, so a very big motor, 7.6. That is my favorite car I've ever had, probably the only car I would never even consider selling. And then more recently, some of you will of course know that I had a Ford as well, a 66 Ford Galaxy wagon, which was an awesome car, finished in kind of a rat look paint, 10 seats, small block 289, essentially Mustang block, same as the original Shelby Cobra. But then not too long ago, I realized, I actually don't love the Galaxy. I just love what's been done to this particular Galaxy. So I started looking around for potential changes in pace, and I saw this one come up. From a dealership that I've been to before, I almost got a Pontiac Bonneville a while back, didn't work out, but then I saw this, and I'd never even considered getting one of these, a 1960 shape, technically 3rd generation Lincoln Continental. Now this comes from the really weird time period where Ford was trying to make Lincoln and Continental into 2 different things. And if you love this car, I would also recommend watching Jay Leno's Garage, speaking of which, where he's got one of these as well, but he's got the Continental version, which looks virtually identical, but he's got the, I believe, breezeway rear window. Mine bows outward, as you'll see from some of the footage. His rear window goes in, kind of like an old Ford Anglia, and the rear window has power, so you can put it down, which is just great for fumes. Mine just has a normal glass window, and I personally think that this one looks way better. So the Continental one has the window that goes in, this has the window that goes out. And this is technically not a Lincoln Continental. I mean, it is, but they call it the Lincoln Premiere Landau. The Landau, I believe, being the biggest version of it. So this is the biggest generation of car that Lincoln ever made. This is another 6 inches longer than Abe, and making it a truly massive car. This is basically 6 meters long, 227 inches long. It's wider than Abe as well, over 80 inches wide. So not too crazy, even by modern standards, because cars have got quite a lot wider these days. It's a little bit taller than Abe as well, so the headroom is still fantastic. Retains the 6 seats, just like Abe. This one, of course, has 4 doors, as you can see, instead of 2. Not that the doors on Abe were small to begin with. And, of course, as you'll see again from the footage, the engine is still very much so filling the bonnet, and the boot is massive yet again. Fuel economy so far is about the same as Abe. So about £20 to go 40 miles. And I would say that for a car that's 63 years old, I don't think that's too bad. Obviously, this is still running on the carburetor, whereas Abe is on Holly Sniper fuel injection conversion. I did a video on that. He's also misfiring though, which is why he's not running, well, on all cylinders. And this one runs like a dream. The engine pulls really well, the transmission is lovely. It's such a quiet car, and you know me, I always love to take my exhausts off, especially with a big V8, but on this occasion, I think I might actually leave the exhaust on, or the mufflers more specifically, because it's such a quiet car. But this vehicle definitely has more of a, and I know you can't really say this anymore, but to me this vehicle definitely has more of like a feminine vibe to it. And I kind of wanted to keep it that way. It's more of a wedding car kind of color scheme, and I think it just suits it to be a little bit quieter. Plus, having 2 really loud MEL Lincolns is a bit redundant. So I like to think of this one as being like the 50s style, because these did originate in the 50s. 1960 was the last shape of these. And then immediately after this, which was a super controversial car for its looks, they went from this to the JFK shape. So when they really became the slabs that people know Lincolns for. So this, to me, is pretty much the closest thing they've ever done to making a Cadillac. Like, it looks so much like a Cadillac. Even the cream and gold with the big fins, the slanted headlights, which of course Rolls-Royce and Bentley also did at a similar time. It's just such an over-the-top car. But to me, this is America, or American excess at its absolute best. This is back when a car could go so over the top that it actually almost goes so over the top that it comes back around to being cool again. Like, today this car wouldn't work. You know, people would think, I mean, I guess actually maybe it would, because people do love the way this car looks. It's had so many compliments, it's unreal. But yeah, it's a car, like I said, that's so over the top that it somehow still works. But I guess at the time it was controversial. I don't really understand that, because like 1 year before this, Cadillac was literally making pink Eldorados and Buritzes with 42-inch fins and 8 headlights. So I don't really understand how this could be over the top. But I guess because Lincoln is more like the Bentley to Cadillac's Rolls-Royce, and these days I guess more like what a Jag kind of owner would be these days. So I guess Lincoln is a bit more conservative and people wanted that. You know, I don't mind. I mean, obviously I don't mind. I love the way it looks. So the long and the short of it is, as far as ownership, I've actually traded in Beau, the Galaxy, that's the wagon, and for those who didn't know, I also bought a motorbike. The motorbike is, there's a fly in here. The motorbike is the oldest thing I've ever owned. Absolutely wonderful condition, a green 1953 MV Agusta. I of course put it up as a raffle prize on the channel. There wasn't enough interest. The winner got £250 cash instead, which was still good for them. But yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. I'm not exactly known for, you know, motorcycle stuff primarily on the channel, but I wasn't using the bike. You know, the bike had done 2,000 miles in 70 years, fully restored. It was wonderful. I wasn't using it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use the bike as a part exchange. You can't really do that with a modern car, but for a classic, you certainly could. So I exchanged the Galaxy and the bike, plus a little bit of cash on top for this one. And it had a couple of things that needed fixing, which initially made me decide not to get it, but the garage offered to get it sorted and actually deliver the car and swap over and drive mine back. So I thought, you know what? I also checked out a Cadillac. Cadillac didn't work out. The seller was a bit of an idiot, and the Cadillac just, it was a bit too close to the other Lincoln, but not as good. So on this one, the driver's window didn't work because it's all power windows, as you can see, pillarless, which I absolutely love. And just to show you, I think the window operation looks so cool. I love that operation. Like, it could have just gone down, but they wanted to make it so fancy, and it's kind of unnecessary. But again, it's all about the excess. I mean, look at these door handles. They're ridiculous, but I love it. And like how the dashboard is like metal, like it doesn't need to be. I love how it almost has like a spiker kind of vibe with this aviation look with the dials and all that. Of course, the 50s, very much aviation inspired back in the 50s with the fins. A lot of cars like the Chevy Bel Airs would have like the airplane on the bonnet. Very, very aviation inspired. And to me, the 50s is more like the Elvis kind of styling, and then 60s is more like the Sinatra kind of styling. And Abe is very much in that kind of realm. I love the fact that they're both Lincolns. I love them both. They have quite a lot in common, but they also feel so different to each other, which I love. In terms of a name, of course we have to give this car a name. Between myself and my girlfriend, we decided, she actually inputted a totally different middle name to add in, and I wanted to call this one Mary Todd, which doesn't mean much to most Brits, but Mary Todd is Abraham Lincoln's wife. And since I already have Abe, this car has more of a feminine vibe, so I thought, you know what, why not have Abe and Mary Todd? So this is Mary Todd. I'll most commonly call it Mary, and my girlfriend likes the middle name Adeline, and so this is technically Mary Adeline Todd, I guess, even though I'll never actually call it that. And yeah, so this is Mary and Abe. And yeah, I mean, you can tell that there's a misfire on Abe when you drive this, for sure, because she pulls so well. Pulls like a train, in fact, because this engine, and again, I'll get into this more in the review, probably maybe the week after next, but it's older and it's a smaller engine, but it pulls. This thing has 320 horsepower from the factory in 1960, and that was after they detuned it a couple of times. So in like 1957, these were putting out 375 horsepower. Abe's only got 340, maybe 350 now. So it's not that much of a difference in 8 years, and for 600cc more engine, 20 horsepower ain't that much of a change. Abe's got 485 foot-pounds, again probably more with the fuel injection. This one is 465. So to put that into perspective, this 63-year-old car has the same torque output as the original Dodge Viper, which is insane. Obviously it's not as quick as that, but I tell you what, she's not slow. She's definitely not slow for a 227-inch, 2.5-ton car. And in terms of tech, these things were so advanced It's got electric seats, or I guess they would call it power. So it's got power seats, power brakes, power steering, power windows, of course. The lights on the interior all still work. It also has this little UFO looking thing on the top of the dash, which is the auto dipping headlights, no less. Something which even Abe doesn't have later on. Some of them did, but mine doesn't. And yeah, it's just extremely advanced stuff. And I believe the aircon unit, which again you'll probably see in the video, the aircon unit I think is a bit ugly. It's definitely a later addition. I might take that off because I don't tend to use aircon. I prefer to just open the windows. Plus it drains the fuel economy like a stone. This thing does about, I think, 11-ish to the gallon UK. So about what you'd expect. Abe's getting about that at the moment. He should be better than that, but he's not because of the misfire. This one does have, as you may hear in the video, a ticking sound. It sounds like a very light, high-pitched ticking coming from what seems like the front left. It sounds like a piece of plastic, like hitting something as it goes around. I can't see anything obvious though, and there is a bit of a death wobble up around 60 miles an hour sometimes, so I do think it needs a wheel bearing doing. It doesn't sound like a wheel bearing though, so I think it might be that and something else. We'll have to see. Hopefully we can get it up on the ramps next week, because Abe's going in for the misfire anyway, so kill two birds with one stone, ideally. And yeah, so what I was saying was the driver's window didn't work. The brakes were a bit weak, but I just thought that was an age-related thing. More importantly, the wipers didn't really work, because they're vacuum operated. And what else? There was something else as well. Oh yes, the car didn't want to stay in park, which is kind of an issue. It kept on wanting to move backwards in reverse, because it needed adjusting on the column. So they fixed all of that. So it's all fixed now. And yeah, the only thing I've got to really deal with is whatever this noise is. And yeah, obviously a car like this can sit on the drive for a little bit while you order parts or whatever. And parts actually aren't that hard to find either. Anyone who has a classic American knows Rock Auto here in the UK, you can get pretty much everything. And it doesn't take that long either. So yeah, this is my my new girl. And alongside my old boy, I think they're a pretty damn nice pair. So 7 litre and a 7.6, 350 horses, 320 horses, 480, well, probably 500 foot-pounds and 465. Hell of a lot of numbers. I probably need to do something about the sun visor that keeps coming down. But yeah, ultimately, of course, these cars always have their little quirks. Like, I need to figure a way of getting the rear view mirror to stay where I want it to be. But again, it's just small things. Overall, though, it's in fantastic condition. The paint is great. The interior is gorgeous. The condition is so much better than Abe. And the mileage is good as well. I mean, this has just passed 83,000 in the few days that I've had it. So it's actually got lower mileage than Abe. Abe has just passed 90,000. This is 83,000. So, I mean, for cars that are, Abe's 55, 56 years old, this is 63. So it's not bad at all. And yeah, I'm loving it so far. And looking forward to the future with it. I of course don't plan to do many modifications to this. One of the only things I would consider doing, if I were to do, you know, mods, it would be to like airbag it so I can slam it. But even then, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of keeping it original. Plus that's very expensive to do. And secondly, on more of a practical sense, I would be interested to know, and some Lincoln owners may know this, so I might need to ask around, if it's possible to put the disc brakes from something like my 68 onto the front of this, because Abe's brakes are amazing. It's got discs on the front from the factory, and they are so good. Whereas these brakes, they're vacuumed, you know, they're power, but drums all round even so it's stopping a lot of car. And it's not that the brakes aren't powerful enough, they are. It's just that there's a bit of a dead zone in the middle. So if you gently brake, it will slow down gently, but not much feedback. And then there's kind of nothing for a while, and then it really slows down. So there's not enough of a gradient. The brakes almost feel like a switch. So I think that would be the one major improvement. I don't know if I would bother doing a Holly Sniper on this one, because with Abe, he felt like he needed it. With this one, she's already running well. I don't think it really needs the Sniper. And you know, at 11 to the gallon, it's about the same as Abe anyway, so what's really the point in changing it at the moment? Because a Holly Sniper is like a £2 investment anyway, so at least for a while I'll keep it on the carburettor, and yeah, see how it goes. But ultimately, that is it for the reveal. Like I said, I will be doing a Beards and Cars review of this as well, in the more, you know, history and academic side of things. The sun visor's coming down again, and yeah. that's it for the reveal video. So of course stick around for more on this car, and doubtless some more on Abe as well. And until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.